Chief Justice under the Kenya's present constitution. He served his 2 terms, rode off into the sunset, appeared a couple of weeks ago, and was tear-gassed. How? And right next to him, the man who calls himself the People's Watchman, Boniface Mwangi. Always fighting, always an activist fighting for people's rights. Dr. Willy Mutunga, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Huh? How you doing?
Okay.
How's the tear gas? You still...
I wasn't tear gas.
You were at Central Police. There was some tear gas thrown.
Yes.
But that was mild.
And he ran away.
I've been through those fires before, so I know how to get away.
So it's nothing to you?
No.
Is that for me?
Yes.
A copy of the Kenya Constitution?
Yes. Signed by me and...
Oh, this is precious.
Yeah.
This is precious. I want to look at Article 37 in a little short while. The right to picket, the right to... Right?
Protest. Yes.
Peacefully or non... Well...
Unarmed.
Yeah, that's the word. Unarmed.
Yeah.
Okay, take us to that day. What was it like?
Which day now?
When you were at Central Police. I mean, you were detained for a while.
No. Where did you get that from?
Oh, come on. Dr. Ari. Okay, take me through that day.
Look, Mwangi and I went to Central Police Station on Friday night. That was the Sabasaba.
Sabasaba.
Yeah, and we took food to the young people who had been arrested. We happened to know many of those young people from Kaongware, not Kaongware, but Mathare, informal settlements.
Yeah.
They were not part of the Azimio celebrations. They had their own, own celebration. Anyway, we took food there. And so the next day, we were actually 12 lawyers who were talking to the DCIO. Yes, so that they could get bail.
Right. And be released.
Yeah. So we were still negotiating, and when we got to the open area, there were some people who were singing, nice songs. One of them was actually asking which God created them.
Police.
So, I saw that we were going to be attacked. It's very easy in a police station to know. Guys get out with rungos. Then you see the huge bus, Mariamu, somewhere. And then the OCS changes from civilian, close to... Uniform.
Wow.
So I knew we were going to, to be hit.
Yeah.
And by the time they fired the tear gas, I was out of that place.
You knew. But you've been in this situation so many times.
Yes.
So many times.
Yes.
Does it get any... Do you get used to it, like Dr. Ari was saying? Can you get used to those situations?
You never get used to it, because if you get used to it, you're going to die. And that's why you see people being very reckless when confronting police. You become smarter.
You're talking about yourself.
So when you're running away, you're sure you don't run inside the police station because they're going to beat you out. Because what you did, you ran outside the police station. The guys who ran back in were beaten. Yeah, so you have to run away from the police.
Right.
Always. And you have to find a way to know. So at any given time at a protest, you need to know who is around you and where you're heading to. Don't just protest. You don't go protesting without knowing who is next to you. I almost got stabbed many years ago at a protest because someone was sent to stab me at a protest. So you have to be very safe.
When you see the visuals today, they say there could have been, upwards of 50 people killed, more than 300 injured. How do you see this Mandamano process, events going?
Well, you talked about Article 33 of the Constitution. 37, sorry, yeah. That article has a history. Those of us who have been in activism since the 70s will know that the reason why that article is there is because we went through that problem You know, it's a colonial and post-colonial problem, really. And so 37 very, very, very clearly talks of demonstrations when citizens are peaceful and unarmed. What is also implied is that when you demonstrate, it's the police who protect you. Mm. Because there's always a possibility that there could be two groups and they can easily fight. Yeah. So the police are supposed to protect the demonstrators to enjoy that particular, right. But I think our security system, particularly the police, still have a colonial mentality, okay? Because I've never seen any problem with the demos until the police arrive. Because when they arrive, you have tear gas, water cannons and so forth. Hell breaks loose, okay? I've also seen very peaceful demonstrations where there is dialogue between the police and the demonstrators. Okay, and this can happen around that Article 37. Where if you are demonstrating, the police might want to know which route you are taking. Right. They might want to know whether you're going to wear a T-shirt so that they know who is part of the demonstration and who is out there to go and steal and create problems and so forth. So that article also expects that there won't be any hostility, between... Yeah.
But that hasn't been the case, Bonnie. The last 4 weeks, it hasn't been the case.
No, never been, actually. I don't think the police have ever respected Article 37 of the Constitution. I have been involved in very peaceful protests. I've been tear-gassed. Under Uhuru Kenyatta, the tear-gas Langata Primary School kids. Yeah. So the police do not follow the law when it comes to protest. Any protest that seems to embarrass the government is always broken and disrupted. If you do a protest that is pro-government, police will provide security. If you do a protest that is actually trying to highlight an injustice or social issues, the police come to disrupt. And I think the problem is we never hold the police accountable for their actions. The last 4 weeks has been like a mess. There have been a lot of murders by the state. And I think the officers involved should be held accountable. There should be a prosecution of the people involved. I think Japheth Koome should resign because under him, innocent and armed Kenyans were murdered. Cold-blood murder.
even in 2017.
Yes. Where I was shot when Koome was the Nairobi County Commander, when I was shot along Kenyatta Avenue. The other thing, there's a rogue militia in the police service. On the river, some people came in Subarus.
With no number plates?
No number plates, in civilian clothes, and they were shooting everywhere. That's a government militia that is killing innocent people. They should be held accountable. I also think that Azimio are actually failing by not talking about these things in Parliament. And Azimio also failed by allowing Koome to become the IG because Koome killed people in 2017. He was a Nairobi County Commandant. And there's a human rights report on those killings as well. But the problem is you're dealing with politicians who are like war thugs. They have no memory. They don't look at history. They never learn from the past. They get a chance to go to the table to negotiate. They talk about themselves and their families, not Kenyans who have died or suffered. Because if Azimio really cared about 2017, Koome wouldn't have become the IG.
Let me ask you real quick before we go on, take a real quick break. You said you've been demonstrating, you've been an activist since the 70s. That's about half a century.
Yes.
Have things changed, or the more things change, they remain the same?
Well, things have changed, okay?
For the better or for the worse?
I would say that what we don't focus on is actually the resistance to oppression. Any oppression is resisted. Oppression and resistance are like, twins joined at the hip, okay? And you can track that. You can track a resistance that, is successful. Governments make, concessions because they think that is the right thing to do. But what hasn't changed, in my view, is the dictatorships in this country since Jomo Kenyatta, okay? The dictatorships that use the machinery of violence, the armed forces, particularly the police, you know, to harm people. And that's very problematic because under the Constitution, if a government cannot save lives and the property, it has no legitimacy, you know, to rule. So it's a seesaws. Okay, as Mwangi was saying, there are some demonstrations that the police obey the law and nothing happens. If you have goons, whether they are uniformed or they are in civilian clothes, it's for the police to deal with those people. So I think here, the demos, there are a lot of issues that even the Azimio people are not talking about, which are very, 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 you know, critical. All right, and then I don't see why those kind of negotiations, you know, to basically save lives, right, shouldn't happen. But all I can say is that Kenya of 2023 is not the Kenya of the 70s, you know, the 80s and the 90s. Yeah. But that is because the Kenyans themselves have always resisted this kind of violence.
Absolutely. Yeah. Gentlemen, I want to take a quick break, come back and talk about what does it take to be an activist and what's the personal cost to you guys? You know, personal cost, family, you give up so much to do what you do. I want to know about that when we come back. All right? Dr. Willy.
Where's Korea?
I don't want you to walk away. I don't want you to walk away. Dr. Willy Mutunga with Boniface Mwangi are my guest today. Stay tuned. In the meantime, Internal Security PS Raymond Omolo.